You're listening to the Totally Indian Football Show by Humans of Indian Football.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Totally Indian Football Show. I'm your host Siju, and we are done with ISL. We had a great outing of the entire ISL tournament, but I don't know if the final stood up to the expectation and how the entire ISL went by. But before we speak about that and a lot of things on this show, let me introduce the two of the gentlemen today. We have both the Menins and on the show, Ajay and Sandeep. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hey Zujo, how are you? Hey Sandeep, how are you?
All good, all
Well,
good. Hope you guys are also fine in Mumbai.
yes, we're all fine as of now. Hopefully, we continue to really hope that we continue to stay fine. But anyway, let's come back to the discussion. We have ISL to talk about, and we have a bit of I League, which is like always we say, I League has always lived up to the expectation. In fact, almost I think every time it exceeds the expectation. Every time with the competition, the performance, and just surprises us always. So we'll keep that towards the end. We'll begin with the ISL final that was played last Saturday. To our listeners, we recorded this episode on a Thursday, so you will be listening to this on a Saturday morning, hopefully before the I League fixtures, I League matches begin. But to start with, Mumbai City versus ATK MB, a 2-1 victory for Mumbai City FC. Bipin to score the winner. I think to highlight the entire thing, he just deserved that particular moment, right? Because that was the highlight. Because Bipin was one of just outstanding players of the season. And what a way for him to end the season with a victory, scoring the final goal and lifting the trophy for his team. I'll start with Sandeep. Sandeep, your thoughts on the final game? What did you make of it? We probably thought, Lober Habas is usually known to nick the game, but here it was the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, final-wise, as a game individually, I thought it was not the best of quality because if you look at it, all the goals were conceded from defensive mistakes, whether it's a goalkeeper or whatever it is. So I didn't make any great shakes of it, and but yeah, it in the balance of play, probably Mumbai deserved it because they finished on top of the league. So it stands to reason that they should win the title as well. This is what I would suggest, and yeah, that's what happened. Well, I guess there is nothing other than the title being decided. The ATK MB was already going for the AFC Cup, so good thing that they got that. The top two teams deserve to do that. So yeah, it seems interesting only. I don't know what to say, dude. It seems I was very disappointed with the quality of that game because Tiri was so good throughout the whole season. For him to make that pass and for the goalkeeper to come charging Arindam and missed it, and then again make another mistake, decisive ones. But having said that, very very happy that Bipin was the goal scorer who won it for the league and who won the league and everything. It's good, nice that an Indian got the shine at the end of the day. So that's one good thing.
Yeah, I mean, also the only hat trick to be scored this season by Bipin, and like I said, it was a fitting finale even for him personally as a player to get that winner for his side. Ajay, your thoughts? How happy and ecstatic are you? One, you've been following Mumbai City since the start. Second, you're a Mumbaiker.
It's actually quite funny because I told my wife that Mumbai City FC won the ISL and she couldn't really remember the club, but I had to sort of go back and tell her that we had gone to one of the first Mumbai City home games in 2014 for a date. Not an ideal place to go for a date, but I think if you're a football fan, you end up doing these things. So yeah, they've really come a long way from playing games at the DY Patil Stadium in Navi Mumbai to coming to Andheri to play in the Mumbai Football Arena. I don't think so. I mean, I've barely missed a few handful home games here or there. So it was quite good to see a club from Mumbai, who unquestionably has a rich history in Indian football. But in the recent years, we've seen clubs like Air India, ONGC, Mahindra United all plug out, and of course Mumbai FC. So it was good to see a team from Mumbai win the trophy. They look favorites, and even in the last pod, although my brain was telling Senior Habas going to nick one final like like he's always done in the past. I think Hart always said Mumbai City FC, and I think that's what they showed. The final itself was quite cagey. No team wanted to lose. It showed in the quality of football, and it showed that even Tiri, as Sandeep mentioned, who was so solid, ended up making an error, and Arindam as well. You got to feel for him. As a fellow goalkeeper, goalkeepers union, you really feel, when a goalkeeper makes an error. Sometimes you get lucky, like Hugo Lloris got in the World Cup final, France versus Croatia, where he made a very silly blunder, but his team won it, so no one remembers it. But in case of Arindam, well, I think you saw it right at the end when he got the Golden Glove. He seemed least interested to receive the award. So got to feel for him. But I think end of the day, the better team won. You can say overall, Mumbai City FC have been more consistent than ATKMB, despite going through that 5-6 game spell where they were little off the gas. But credit to Bipin, credit to Lobera, who finally, I think at the start of the season, people were questioning whether he's got a plan B, when it comes to changing tactics when things aren't going his way. I think this season he's shown it by winning both the Shield and the ISL trophy. So very happy for the Mister, and I think that really puts that sheen in this 4-year spell in India as managers of FC Goa and now Mumbai City FC.
I want to ask you, how big a boost should this be considered for Mumbai football? One. Secondly, I think Mumbai City should finally take advantage of this and be that probably flag bearer of getting Mumbai football where it was earlier.
Absolutely. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. I don't think so. The Quant team have done anything major, after Mumbai City came into existence. It's just sporadic spurts here or there. No one knows about Mumbai City FC. And by no one I mean the large mass of the audience, because football is a common man's game, and the common man should know that they have a team to represent, or to stand behind, or to get behind with. And the classic example here is Bengaluru FC, where they're really connected with the fan base across everywhere, from students to businessmen to the IT guys. Everyone is there in the stadium, and it's a slow process. But with Mumbai, we never saw that happening. But I think after the City Football Group have taken over, they've shown some improvements, albeit digitally, because of the pandemic. Obviously, we had the entire season behind closed doors. So I'm looking forward to see what they do in terms of getting fans to support this team. And I think in the world of sports business, everyone speaks about fan engagement. We should do fan engagement, but I don't see any fans. So we need to create more fans, right? And I think the best way that typically you have fans following a club is when the club starts winning trophies. And in this case, Mumbai have won a couple of trophies here. So I'm really hoping that this kind of boosts the overall sport in the city. If you go to any of the Maidans, Cross Maidan, Old Maidan, you would see cricket being played, but in one small corner you will have a bunch of kids or a bunch of people playing football. So I really hope that number increases, more kids take up the sport, and we have more fans thronging to the stadiums once things get all right. And I'm really sort of excited to see what the City Football Group have in store with regards to grassroots development and starting football schools and supporting the local clubs in the city, because it, Siju. We've been in Bombay. You've been in Mumbai you've been covering Mumbai football for so long, and I think the local scene over here is as good as anywhere in the country. You talk about the footballing hotbeds of Goa, West Bengal, and all across the Northeast. I think even in terms of sheer volume, Mumbai has got that potential to sort of get there. But the culture is always there. The passionate fans have always been passionate about the game. So it's just a matter of taking this victory and building momentum onto it, and creating that sort of like support for the local team. And I'm waiting for the day when we see Mumbai Football Arena filled to its maximum capacity.
Yeah, without without putting out some appeal videos or stuff, without doing that, I think like Ajay mentioned, a team gets people, maybe attracts the fans once they start winning trophies, and may this be a start for that. We do have people in handful number of people in pockets or sections in this city where people are passionate about the sport, but hopefully this should boost many more fans to be out there and come out and support Mumbai City FC. And hopefully, we also see some effort put from the Mumbai City team as well to do that. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of things to look forward to. But before I move on, we still was talking about the ISL discussion. Sandeep, as a whole for you, how has the season of ISL been? And with this whole, we saw it all, right? It was post lockdown. The first tournament. I mean, before that we had I-League qualifiers, of course, but ISL again, football. It continued with ISL and it went on for 4-5 months, and it was a bubble. I think kudos to the entire team at the back end in Goa who put up, the team of Star and everyone else who put up this tournament for us.
Yeah, absolutely. When you walk out on the road, you don't realize that there is a pandemic going on, maybe. But regardless of that, to actually host a 5-month-long league in the country is a great achievement, especially considering the fact that they were the footballers sort of the pioneer in the country. There were some golf tournaments and some tennis tournaments maybe here and there, small level. But football led the way. You had IPL, which went out, to the Gulf to conduct their event, which is a 2-month event. And for these guys to do a 5-month event and have very little problem, I'm not going to say that there was no breach in bubble and things like that, but whatever happened was very, insignificant in some sense. To get this done is amazing. Then on top of that, I think the season was great. I got fatigued. I'll be very honest. I took a week off in between because I just didn't want to watch anymore because every day was just a grind. But other than that, maybe that can be something they can look forward to in the schedule. Maybe give 2 days off a week or something and not have games every day. But as we move on into this, 3 stadiums they had to maintain. They did an excellent job. The production was excellent. The commentators and the experts and, all these people over there. I'm not a big fan of Macefield, but the rest of them did a very good job. And Macefield also, it's only because the way he talks down to people, but actually as a person, he's a very, very nice guy from all accounts, someone who's very helpful and everything. So maybe there is a dichotomy over there, but nevertheless, phenomenal job from everyone. Even the clubs, I guess, they would have to travel, length and breadth of the country to play the games here. They didn't have to. They were always in and around the stadiums. They just had to travel small distances. Maybe that helped. You don't know. Maybe after one season only we'll get to know. Would they actually prefer to play a game in one spot or actually travel the length and breadth of the country? Which complicates recovery process and all those kind of things. So yeah, there was no home and away advantage here as such. I'm also curious to see how much not having fans have affected, like a team like Bengaluru. Or even Kerala Blasters, for example, had the luxury of having a lot of fans all around all the time. And for them to not have anybody around and play in an atmosphere may or may not have played a part. You can see how Liverpool is sort of struggling, right? Since the fans are not there now. Maybe there is a correlation over there. Maybe once next year when we go back to the fans, you'll see better performance from Bengaluru at least. I don't know about Kerala Blasters. Yeah, so there are some interesting things, and even in production, they did an excellent job in terms of crowd noise and things like that, which I think they will use further next year, especially in grounds where there are less number of fans. And just to give an ambience, they will probably tweak it a little bit. So yeah, a lot of things that they've done which has improved, and kudos to everyone. They did a phenomenal job to ensure that people like me had something to write about, and people like us had something to talk about, and generally some entertainment from football in the country.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, this podcast started just before the ISL could do, and we had something to talk about where we look back at the I-League qualifiers, but then throughout we had something to talk and, to keep going. There are a lot of stories, phenomenal stories coming out from absolutely crazy players, some good coaching done there, and we'll come to that. But before that, Ajay, let me get your thoughts on this entire tournament and what do you have to say about this whole the whole league that went by, and now we are done with ISL.
It's fantastic. I mean, to have this is the longest season, of the ISL. I think, we are all looking, for a day when you have promotion relegation and you get to see the likes of, the Real Kashmirs and Churchill brothers come up, get promoted and come and play in the same, league as the others. So just to start off with, we finally had the whole Mohun Bagan and East Bengal debate with. I mean, it was brewing on since 2014, and we finally got to see them, in the form of ATK, MB, and SC EB. So the Kolkata Giants came into the ISL. We finally got, an intercity rivalry, which the FSDL were holding off for so long. I mean, as a football fan, I don't understand why, because intercity rivalries are probably the best in the world. But we finally got to see that, and I think the amount of Indian talent that exploded in this tournament was great to see, especially from, the likes of Hyderabad FC, who had a bunch of Indian players really playing well, and probably missed out quite unluckily on the playoff place. And we got to see Northeast United and Khalid Jamil, go on a fairy tale run. Really, the team with one of the lowest budgets, and again, we saw Apuya play absolutely brilliantly for his first maiden call up to the national team. So interesting stories between Hyderabad FC and Northeast United, and I guess FC Goa as well, who lost their entire core of the team and the coach, but still remained competitive. That was quite good to see. And I guess with Chennai and less so with Chennai and more with Bengaluru, you will probably see the start of a new era. I think they've completed the cycle, and you would see a lot of new faces coming in. They've already got a new Italo-German coach, so quite excited to see in the direction that they progress. We still have the Champions League and the AFC Cup games to be played, and I think just before that we have the international friendlies. The boys are already in the Middle East right now. So really, I mean, yeah, as Sandeep mentioned, last 4 months, just it was quite action packed. We tried to do the football raps initially. We could do it every day, but as time went on, it was something where we couldn't do it. But nevertheless, I think as an Indian football fan, had a lot of fun. And in the end, the team from my city won it, so quite happy.
Talking about the fatigue that Sandeep mentioned, I think I remember we were 3-4 matches into the ISL, and I remember tweeting this like, I'm already tired of watching. So I get that, and that kind of got to us when we were doing the ISL raps as well. Towards the end, the middle, where we just kind of could not keep up to it and could not put out every day. But
Yeah.
hey, thanks to all the fans who still stuck around and showed all the love for whatever we tried to do during the season. But this podcast is not going anywhere. This will be running throughout, and just like Ajay mentioned, we have still more lot of stuff. ACL, AFC Cup. The national team is in the Gulf playing for the international friendlies. We'll talk about that maybe the next week, just before they take on the friendly games. But again, now Ajay also mentioned about the players and some. So that brings me to the next segment, where we're going to talk about where I'm going to ask both of you to pick your best 5 Indian players from the season and best 5 foreign players. So I'll start with Sandeep. First, give us your best 5 Indian picks.
Okay, number one is obviously Vipin, without a shadow of a doubt, probably the most improved player this year and the most impactful one also. And Lovera has that ability to do this. He did this with Jackie Eason before, and this year it's Vipin, so he's the one. And second one is Akash Mishra. To be that mobile and that fast and that consistent over 90 minutes in the heat and humidity that they were playing in, unbelievable. And a very good defender also. Everyone talks about him going forward, but he stands up quite well to challenges. Chinglen Sana is the other one, because I just think to have a defender who has the ability to pass through the lines is something that's not very common in India. So it's great to have a player who can do that. And as you look deeper into his history, he's always been able to do this. I met Richard Hood, who coached him during the TFA days. And he used to say he has always had this ability to do this. And Pradyum also in the podcast that we released yesterday or something, he talks about how BFC wanted to sign Sana and Vineet Rai when they signed Udanta. So he was always in and around the people, the coaches and things like that to finally make it and break into the footballing landscape was great. So Sana is there. Very sad that Ashutosh has missed out. I think he's probably the best solid right back. I know we have Ashish Rai and things, but I think he's quite impressive and he's good at defensive set pieces as well. Amrinder in goal, not a shadow of a doubt. I mean, he's the best in India this season for sure. There is no two ways about it, and he single-handedly saved Mumbai at least like 5-6 points. So you have to give it to him as well. And I'm a little sad again, like Ashu, this guy Manveer also is missing out in my lineup, but Apuya had to go in. He's an excellent midfielder and someone that India can now, like a huge upgrade on Amarjeet for sure. Probably perfect one to play with Thapa in that covering role of sorts and allowing Thapa to be more of a creative presence. So yeah, I think these five I would pick.
So just to repeat, your 5 picks are Bipin, Mishra, Sana, Apuya and Amrinder. Am I right?
Yes, I wanted to pick up one each from all the defense, midfield, goalkeeper, and plus all the 4 positions and plus 1.
Okay, great. So just to be clear, these are Sandeep's best 5 Indian picks: Bipin, Mishra, Akash Mishra, Sana, Apuya, and Amrinder Singh. Now coming to you, Ajay, your best 5 Indian picks from the ISL season.
I want to pick something different because I think there are a lot of players, and obviously Sandeep shows a very strong 5-a-side team for him. But yeah, these players are there. I think credit to Amrinder first. Despite having a shaky final, I think he was really good. And I think on form, you've asked this question before to us. I think on form, Amrinder deserves the number 1 spot in the national team. But okay, so 5, I think I would first pick Liston. Liston, just broke out and was quite brilliant. And I also liked Hitesh Sharma as well. I mean, he had a very tough time with injuries, when he was with Kerala Blasters. But I think, we saw that, he can, he has the quality to progress. And I think he, without a doubt, he had a better season than Sahal, this year. The bright spot of Kerala Blasters season this time I think was Rahul KP. The emergence, I would say, of Rahul KP. We've always seen glimpses of what he can do, but I think with regular playing time, he's got the quality to be sort of like a permanent fixture, at least in the KBFC team as an attacking winger. Right. Apart from that, I think the one player that I really got impressed and I'm looking forward to see him next year is Rocher Zella. He really had a good start, just sort of faded away towards the end, but definitely has the makings of a decent player for the national team in the future. In the goalkeeping department, I would say that I was quite impressed with Ashdeep Singh of Odisha. Again, not a very well-known name, young guy making it in the ranks, but yeah, he had a torrid time. Odisha really were the most woeful team this year, and he made a lot of saves. That just speaks, in terms of defense, that's ahead of him. But I think this guy is a player to watch as well for the future. And lastly, I think Ishan Pandita, super sub. We were all excited to see what he can do. I had never seen him play live before this. Some hazy YouTube highlights and stories about him moving to Spain and all of that. We finally got to see him, and as a super sub, he was quite decisive whenever he got the chance, and quite an exciting character, because he brings in those characteristics and traits in the national team like no one other, no one else, because he's got nimble feet, he's quick, he's got a good left foot, he's got a header on him, and he probably could hold up the play if Steve Match decides to go, the way of our legendary Stephen Constantine. But definitely, I would say a different, a modern number 9 in the making. I hope I'm not putting too much of pressure on him, but I guess that's my 5.
Wait, did you pick 5 or 6? Because if I'm not wrong, you mentioned Roshazela, you mentioned
Roshazela,
Liston,
Liston,
Hitesh, Rahul
Hitesh,
KP, and Arshdeep.
Arshdeep. And okay,
That's
so I
your 5.
picked 6. So let me make it an even 7. I think I would go for another Hyderabad FC guy, Yasir. I was quite impressed with him. The cousin of Mohammad Nawaz, the FC Goa goalkeeper. He was. I don't know. I just personally I like left-footed CMs, and yeah, this would be my 7 aside.
But if I had to ask you to remove 2, I want just a 5.
I would remove Hitesh and Yasir. I think it's just my bias towards Hyderabad FC that I overpick from there. But yeah.
So then, okay, so your final pick would be Roshazela, Liston, Rahul KP, Arshdeep, and Pandita.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. I mean, that's different. And as I mentioned in the start itself, that he's going to pick a different side. But nonetheless, I think that's what the season of ISL has given us. They've given a dearth of names for us, it's no dearth of names for us to pick from, so we can just keep picking, and there'll be still plenty, and there'll still be some missing out in the final one. But now let me come to the foreign picks, as ISL always likes to have more foreign players. So Sandeep, I'll start with you. Your best 5 foreign players.
No, start with Ajay. I don't want him to say that I picked the teams.
Okay, great. Ajay, why don't you start then?
We have no foreign goalkeeper, no, so that's quite a tough place to start. But let me go with Angulo, obviously, winning up the Golden Boot. Roy Krishna or David Williams, dealer's choice, because both of them are so influential for their club. Diego Mauricio.
So then does that make it 3?
No. I would go for David Williams this time, more than Roy Krishna. So David Williams, Igor Angulo, Diego Maurizio of Odisha FC. I would go for Hugo Bumu of Mumbai City FC. And lastly, I would go for Machado of Northeast United.
Sandeep, your turn now.
Okay, so I will go with Roy Krishna up front, because I don't think there's a more decisive player than him. Maybe Angulo, but I like Roy Krishna. He does a lot more. Then Aridane as well, because I can't leave him aside. Because I don't think Hyderabad would be where they are if not for Aridane. He's got that ability to sort of be the reference point and brings the players around him into the game and things like that. So very well-rounded centre forward. Nogueira from FC Goa. I think he's an excellent player, both going forward and backwards, and for George Ortiz also, because he's probably I keep saying probably the best foreigner, and I think that's true. He's just such a, when you look at it, they brought him to replace Bumu, and Bumu was such a good number 10 of sorts. And then they got this guy who's able to play on the wing, he's able to play number 10, he's able to play up front, false 9, wherever you want, dribbles with the ball, defends a lot more. So that's a phenomenal, I think that's a great upgrade on Hugo Bumu for Goa. And Fall or Thiri at the back, I've just been thinking who, but I would go for Fall, because he won the title at the end of the day and scored a few more goals. So Fall.
I'm not wrong, you've picked Roy Krishna, Santana, Nogueira, Fall, and I missed out one, I think.
George Ortiz.
Ortiz. Okay, great. That's a great team over there from both of you, with the Indian picks and foreign picks. And to be honest, I think this season we saw both of the sets, our Indian players as well as the foreign signings, do a great job for their respective teams. Now it brings me to the final segment for talking about ISL, which is you guys have to pick your 11 along with your coach of the season. So Ajay, I'll start with you. Best 11 from the season, and who would you want to see the coach of that team?
So I can pick any number of players from one team.
Yeah, it's all up to you. You just have to pick best 11 from the entire squad.
But the foreign rules remain, sir.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So are we going 3+1 this time, or
Five
Yeah.
foreigners.
The
Okay.
ISL foreigner. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So Amrinder, starting keeper. Left back Akash Mishra. Centre back Murtada Fall and Sandesh Jingan. Right back Ashutosh. Uh, okay, in midfield, I would go for Apuya, Hugo Bumu. Okay, who else? And I think I would go for Naguera. Right, and my front three, I will go for Bipin. Up top, I would go for Angulo, and in the right wing, I would go for Roy Krishna.
And who's the coach of this team?
Lobera, Sergi Lobera.
Great. Sandeep.
Okay, so Amrinder in goal. So I'll start with Amrinder in goal. Ashish Mishra, sorry, Akash Mishra and Ashish Sai as the two wing backs or full backs, whatever. Sana and Murtada fall at the center. I'll have Apuya and Rowling sitting, and then Noguera further forward. George Ortiz, Roy Krishna, and Bipin Singh as the three-pronged attack. And the coach will be Juan Fernando.
Considering that you guys have given this team and it just makes you want to see them actually in action and how would they actually go on to be. It'll be really great. Hopefully the coaches or these players are listening to tune into this episode and probably want to give us some feedback and their thoughts.
It'll be great if we can have an ISL All Stars versus I League All Stars, like how it happens in the MLS.
Yeah, well, certain things good to be have wish for, but yeah, that's where. Anyway, let's move on.
Point before
Yeah,
we move.
Sure.
Just amazing to see FC Goa play. An internal game, I would say, between the coach, the management, the staff, and the fan groups. I think that was quite a brilliant gesture. That's how you engage with your fans, right? I mean, I know this is a podcast. I'm making an air quote over your engagement, but I think that's those small things, go down a long way. And I think Juan Fernando also scored in that match. I would love to see a highlight of that goal.
Yeah, we can hope for the FC Goa team. Yeah.
I think Goa lost 6-3.
We can definitely hope for the media team to get some glimpses or some views from that as well. But moving on, that ends and brings the end of discussion for us for ISL for this time. But as a whole, to shout out to all of them, the Star Sports, everyone who kind of put this up and to maintain that bubble, all the players, the coaches, everyone who were there, it's commentators and everyone, because it's mentally quite. They had to be fit mentally as well, not just physically. So kudos to all of them who kept this and kept all these players safe as well, to the medical staff and everyone out there. So thanks to all of these guys and thanks to the boys on our podcast as well. No, we're not ending the podcast with this. We're just saying that we'll have many more new voices coming on the show. The show will continue throughout, and all of those announcements we'll have them later. But I think before we touch upon the I-League discussion, I would just want to have Sandeep speak about this, because while we recorded the last episode and while it came out, a lot happened, not just in I-League but also in BDFA. Where Bengaluru United, FC Bengaluru United lifted the trophy. They won the last game that they had to win. And it was great scenes in Bangalore. So it's first title for Richard and team. Sandeep, your thoughts on that?
I think the league, the BDFA league in the last 2 years have really improved from what it used to be. The top 4 teams had a chance to go in on the final day of sorts to decide on the title. They all had a very good chance to get there as well. So that just shows the depth in that. At least the top 5-6 teams are very close. There are some really poor teams as well. Even the KSFA Women's League that is going on now, which I think the second match today at 3:30 will be possibly the title decider. Even they have a very good in-depth. The 4 teams playing today, all 4 can potentially win the title. So again, that's another exciting thing that's going on there. I just want to go to stadium after we've done this. So yeah, that would be great. And Richard, it's nice to see that a club who wants to do things the right way, to play through the Super Division, win it, play second division league, then get into the I League. Obviously, they couldn't directly get into the I League because of the restrictions that a city with an ISL team cannot bid for a chance only. But anyway, we all know I League this bid is a scam. They already know who's coming in. They just for the sake of it putting some shit up. But yeah, they're going to play the second division. I think Richard has bought a new striker, Daniel Carr, I think his name is. He's not up to speed yet because he hasn't played in a while. But I think going forward, we'll see a different sort of team than push and run team or something that we've seen. We saw last year that second division they missed a striker, and this year they've already secured the services of one. I think they'll go and buy an Asian midfielder as well because they're slightly lacking in creativity to be at the second division level. So yeah, all things looking good for them. They had to, and interestingly, I just tweeted it out. I had written the story then only. Robert Primus has been selected for the national team, the Trinidad and Tobago World Cup qualifier, based on his performances in the last 6 to 8 months here. So it's great to see that a second division team can get a foreign player into the national team also. So all in all, very, very good times for Bengaluru United.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully we have our national team coach take a note of that as well. Well, talking about coaches, and we mentioned about FC Goa and Fernando. Like I told our listeners earlier that we are recording this on a Thursday, and just as we were recording, we got to know that Juan Fernando, FC Goa coach, has been tested positive for COVID. Well, I mean, it's just a press release come out from the team, and they say that he's been in isolation and stuff like that. So hopefully, we wish for a speedy recovery for the coach. And the news also says that the others are being tested negative, and they also asked all the people who've come in contact with Fernando, get themselves tested and take the right precautions. So yeah, that's that. And let's move on talking about interesting BDFA. Even our I League always sets up for a great contest always, and this time it's no different. Once again, like I think the last episode was some crazy episode that we recorded, because while we were recording, I think I'm seeing this for the third, fourth time on this show, because from the time we recorded and the time of release, even the I League table made a lot of shift up and down. And we had teams. We were talking about how Churchill are in the season and it's their season to lose, but we then had Gokulam and Trau open up the table, and now it's up to the three of them, and it will go down to the final probably. We have a couple of games coming in the weekend, and as this episode will be out on Saturday, we have some fixtures on Saturday, but that's mainly relegation battle, and then we have Sunday fixtures, which is the championship battle. Talking about relegation, Sandeep, we have Neroka, that's FC from the northeast, from Manipur, who are relegated.
Yeah, I mean, that's the unfortunate truth, and in some way the eerie beauty of a league system, right? That a team like Neroka, which is a community club and who has struggled so hard for so long. I remember watching them playing in the second division league with Falguni Singh as their captain, who's still their captain. And for them to have gone through this journey, I think when 2 years ago, when Minerva won the title, two I think, these guys finished, 3. That 2020 has thrown the calendar all over the place. But yeah, anyway, whenever Minerva won the title, Neroka finished second. So from there to now be relegated, it's quite sad. We don't know if they'll come back or they have any interest in coming back either, because it's just a grind to get into the I League through the second division. It's a very difficult league to get out of, and then to spend that kind of money to run an I League club and then not get anything in return from sponsorship to television time to any of these things. I'm not sure if they'll be keen on fielding an ISL team, I League team once they go down. So that's a little sad, but that's the harsh reality. And it could have been any of them. It could have been Chennai City also, who just escaped because the Neroka was worse than Chennai. And even Aizawl, who 2-3-4 years ago were the champions and the toast of Indian football and now they are also struggling. So it's just sad, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
heartbreaks are part of football, right? That's what makes it beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about that, I mean, Aizawl always keeps up and they always come back and they've secured their battle even before it could go down. But talking about the matches that are going to be played on Sunday, we're not looking at the games of Saturday, but the championship group, Trau will be playing Churchill Brothers and Gokulam will be playing Mohammedan. Mohammedan SC kind of spoiled party the last time they played, but Gokulam dropped points a bit and that could probably cost them. I don't know. We have to wait and see because now there's a lot of permutation and combination going ahead. But Ajay, your thoughts on these two games? What are you expecting between Churchill Brothers and Trau, and then Mohammedan Nassi taking on Gokulam Kerala FC?
Well, I think, yeah, as we've been speaking, it's Churchill's title to lose, and they have been, on a very poor run of form, and which has allowed obviously Trout to catch up, and Gokulam FC somehow just keep on missing chances to actually, take a lead. Also, even I think they've really been on and off this season, but I think. Yeah, I mean, it would be great to see, either one of the teams clinch the title. For me, I'm not, backing anyone as such, not rooting for any one team as such, but let's hope for a good round of games and, a lot of attacking football. That's what we've seen with these teams. As far as the relegation goes, I mean, I fear that, Neroka will probably not come back, as Sandeep mentioned, for all the reasons. And, that would be the case with any I-League team in the future as well. Because, going back into the I-League 2 and then finding a way up back into the I-League with the promised land of ISL is just a bit too stretchy in terms of getting getting funding and raising money and finding sponsors. So you could see some of these clubs getting shut down permanently or probably playing in their local domestic leagues. It's a sad and sorry state of affairs, but that is what it is. And I think that's something that we need to constantly keep on talking about. I'm sorry if I'm speaking a little more towards this aspect than the I-League situation, but it is painful to see. I mean, it could have been Chennai City as well, and Chennai City were champions, in just the recent past, and for all good reason, they could have been a team that could have gone down, and probably, the lock would have been put on the club gates forever. And this is a club that has given so many Indian players from the state of Tamil Nadu, and the players who are now playing in the ISL. So. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. This season, we've officially got confirmation that the I League is the second division, is the second division. So yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I can contribute anything more.
Well, Sandeep, your thoughts on the games? Yes, Sandeep.
No, it was the same thing I was going to add on. That when I spoke about I don't know if I clarified this. When I spoke about the Falguni playing in the second division, that was Trau. I think if I didn't clarify, I would like to clarify that he was playing for Trau there also. So yeah, it's an interesting thing, right? You have a team like Gokulam and Churchill who have managed to spend decent amount of money and get good foreigners in, and Trau's done very smartly, signed Torsuno, who they'll lose for the final rounds. So he's a major reason why they are where they are, including scoring that absolute thrashing free kick that he scored in the last game. He went through. I mean, if a wall or a defender wanted to stand in front of it, all the best to you, because it is like putting your head in front of a train. He just smashed it in, and that guy is a very Tajiki international player, so he's going to play for Tajikistan in the international break. So they'll miss his services. Vidyasagar has been in good form, especially in the second phase, where he scored 2 back-to-back hat-tricks. So he might have to carry a lot of the weight of goal scoring in that sense. And yeah, it's actually Trau. 2 years ago, I had spoken to the owner, Fulan Methi, I think. And if I'm mistaken his name, I'm so sorry. But I think it's Fulan Methi only. And then he was talking about how there was a discussion, like if I-League doesn't go forward, the club was actually thinking of relegating itself, like how Shillong did, to concentrate more on playing in the local leagues to produce the players who they can then sell off to bigger teams and play the role as a creator of players rather than a top level team, because running a I-League team is quite expensive and the returns are not that great. And finding sponsors is also very difficult because it's shown in a television channel randomly, which most people are not very aware of, and then there is no promotion, nothing of this sort. So even AIFF hardly does much for I-League. So they were thinking from that situation
don't forget that it is actually an intern holding his mobile camera and live streaming it onto Facebook and TV.
Oh, I thought that was someone like Instat. It was Instat last year. This year it's not Instat. No, they've got cuts and all, man. So I think it's a 4-camera setup. Maybe One Sports only are doing it, but either way, it's not very well produced. So for Trau to be there, it's a nice story. I would like them to win. I'm a Gokulam fan, but I don't know. More and more, I just feel sort of disenfranchised with that team. So with the way they are run in the background, not for any other reason. So yeah, it's just what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, certain things that happen behind the scenes kind of always obstruct us, or from going ahead and supporting the team that we thought would be our very own. But that's how it is. Like Sandeep said, it is what it is. But it'll be great story for Trau if they can make it, and it'll be amazing. But as I said, it'll go down to the wire. We don't have the fixtures for the last set of games. So hopefully we have them soon. You can follow the I-League website and the social media handles for that as well. Well, that brings us to the end of this episode, and hopefully you guys enjoyed. We had just 2 of them, and we hopefully, if you have, why don't you, all your listeners who are tuning in, let us know your picks, 5 Indian, 5 foreigners, and your 11s as well. You can tag us on Twitter, Instagram, and probably DM us on Facebook as well. And let us know your thoughts on the YouTube channel as well. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and congratulations to Mumbai City FC for winning the Shield as well as the ISL. Congratulations to Bengaluru United, Richard and team, for winning the BDFA. Hopefully we see them. Looking forward to see what they have in store in the upcoming seasons as well. We'll be back next week as well with some probably looking at I-League in depth, and maybe we have a fun episode coming with maybe one new voice will be on the show next week. Hopefully that can happen. And like I said, we stay tuned to the Total Indian Football Show. Follow us and subscribe to us on audio platforms like the Spotify, Apple Podcast. We're also available on Humans of Indian Football YouTube channel. Please subscribe there as well. We have some great stuff coming up your way, guys. Thank you so much once again, Sandeep and Ajay, to both the menons. And this is your host, Suju, signing off. See you next week.